Fluffy by Andy Sonic 1. This fic has some swearing and gratuitous amounts of huffing. Fluffy! Through the window she saw him. He stood with a few others inside Sugar Cube Corner, all pink and fluffy. The fluffiest pony she has ever seen. Twilight shuddered, faces inches from the glass, as she stared inside. The pony was new to Ponyville, Mike something. She didn't care. At that moment, Twilight Sparkle couldn't have cared any less about who or why that pony was in Ponyville. She only cared about how fluffy he was. And my god was he fluffy. His pink fur formed a fluffy ball around him like a shield. It enticed her more than a Grace book ever had. Something about that fluffiness brought thoughts into Twilight's head that she couldn't explain no matter how hard she tried. She wanted to fuck it. It was a vulgar thought that frightened her, but she did not deny it. She wanted to press against that fluffiness and rub against it until her whole body felt like one giant orgasm. Until all her muscles were weak and useless. Until that fluffiness was as soaked as a towel in the ocean. But she couldn't. Since his arrival she had stalked him, but never gotten close. Never introduced herself for fear of proximity to overpower her will and force her against him. Where she was at now, staring at him outside Sugar Cube Corner, was the closest she had ever gotten. And the more Twilight stared, the more she shuddered. The more she shuddered, the wetter she got. It was torture. She loved every second. But then it happened. Pinkie Pie hopped out of Sugar Cube Corner and noticed Twilight. Ew, hey Twilight, what you doing there? Hey Pinkie Pie, just, you know. She faked a laugh and ran a hoof through her hair. It was messy. No time to comb when she could be watching Fluffy. Mike something. Didn't matter, she reminded herself. Oh, well, I'd go get some more sugar from the store and the cakes are out. You should keep company while I'm gone. And without waiting for a response, Pinkie hopped off towards the grocery store. The grocery store was downtown. The clerk there loved to chat. Pinkie Pie would be gone at least an hour. The cakes were out. Fluffy Pony was alone inside Sugar Cube Corner. A drop of herself ran down Twilight's leg. Before she knew what she was doing, the door where Quarter Cube Sugar was closing behind her. Fluffy Pony appeared to be staring at the confections at the counter. He was alone. She started to pant, to sweat. There he was, all alone. All alone. All to herself. All hers. Twilight leapt like she had never leapt before. She got onto him, onto his fluffiness, before he could respond, and with a gasp of emotion, she slammed her vagina down against that fluffy fur around him as hard as she could. What's going on? He cried out. She didn't hear him. He wasn't there to her. All that there was Fluffy and her. And nothing was going to stop her now. After the initial moment of collisional ecstasy passed, Twilight began to slowly rub her body up and down. The first stimulated her from her vagina to her head, where she pressed her face against it as hard as she could. The fluff soaked up the fluid from her and wet her inner thighs. Hey, what are you doing? The pony inside all the fluff yelled. Twilight was responding with her first orgasm. Her shuddering body against the fluff stimulated her even more. While it didn't go inside her, it didn't matter. It was against her, as much against her as it could be. She closed her eyes, riding the orgasm, body heat warming the fluff against her. It was apparently too much for the pony she rode. He started to panic and jump, trying to get her off. It was an extremely counterproductive move. Twilight timed her humps to his jumps. The extra pressure from the impact made her cry out onto the fluff she rode, tears streaming from her face. The orgasms, once started, wouldn't stop. It was the greatest feeling she had ever had. By then, the fluff around her lower body had become completely soaked with her orgasms, yet kept its shape. Some fluid had even begun to drip from the back of the fluff ball. It must have reached the pony inside, because he really started to freak out right then. Twilight shuddering, panting, and soaking of his fluff brought him to a mental breaking point. He tried to sit back and roll over her backwards. But Twilight, it was like Celestia herself had granted her most treasured wish. The floor came up and pressed her against the fluff harder than she could have. She turned her front hoofs and cut the floor before the fluff could complete its roll. The pony was stranded, upside down, on top of her. Stopping the fluff from rolling off her was the last logical thing Twilight remembered doing. Pressing down that hard, some of the fluff forced itself inside of her. She clinched down inside, but as the fluff got wetter, more and more slipped in. She cried out in pure ecstasy. The fluff was against her body. The fluff was inside her. The fluff was everything. Twilight lost all notion of reality as she let go completely and allowed the orgasms to rule her. It only got better as the upside-down pony above her tried to roll off her, moving back and forth trying to gain momentum. But she clung too tightly, her leg muscles burning. It was 2 hours before Pinkie Pie had arrived back at Cougar Shoot Corner. At that time, all the blood had rushed to the fluffy pony's head. He had died. Twilight Sparkle was passed out under him, body shuddering as it continued to orgasm on its own. To this day, the events that led to Fluffy Pony's death are still sketchy to most. It is rumored Twilight Sparkle avoided jail sentence only because of her relationship to Princess Celestia. After a time, no one in Ponyville seemed to remember Fluffy Pony. He has a forgettable personality. But Twilight would never forget the fluff that gave her the best she ever had.
So once again, the day is saved, thanks to
Twilight Sparkle.